Today, we're talking about buying a business with no money and what you should be careful about if you are finding this idea to be extremely appealing. Stay tuned. This is important. I'm David C. Barnett, and you're tuned in to Small Business and Deal Making, the podcast, YouTube channel, and blog where I talk about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses while controlling risk. So, if you're looking to take control of your future through buying a business one day, or if you already own a business and you're looking to grow or exit, you've come to the right place. I talk about interesting things, I talk to interesting people, and I answer your questions every week right here. So, be sure to hit like and be sure to hit subscribe, and let's get to it. Are you thinking of growing your business or beginning a journey into entrepreneurship? Take a shortcut to success by buying an existing and profitable business the right way. Visit businessbuyeradvantage.com and learn more about my online training, group coaching, and consulting services designed to help you win. All right, everyone. Last week, I had a one-on-one coaching call or consulting call with someone who was working on a business deal. And anyone can just go to calldavidbarnett.com, and there's different booking links there to be able to get me on the Zoom or on the phone, and have a conversation. And basically, we started looking at a business. We were discussing the business. We started to look at the different ins and outs of the business. We started to look at why it may or may not have been a good deal, et cetera, et cetera. And then we started talking about deal structure. And this was like 30 minutes into a conversation. And how would somebody set up the deal to buy this business? And that's when I learned for the first time that this person was broke. Like they have no money, right? Which I wish they had told me at the beginning because we would have shortened our call tremendously. And this person had gotten sucked into a lot of online stuff about this whole notion of buying a business with no money. And I've created all kinds of videos over the years. I even have a tab on my blog site. If you go over to davidcbarnett.com, there's a buy a business with no money tab where I've accumulated all of these videos over the years as I continuously run into people who are falling across this content, and somehow maybe the algo is introducing them to my content as well. And so they kind of end up in some of my videos, and for some of these people, they're able to realize that what they've fallen into may not really be realistic. And so it was with some real interest, actually, a couple days after I had this conversation with this individual, that I came across a new podcast that was new to me. It's been around for a while. I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. So this is a podcast. This is their webpage, and it's called Duped, and it's two ladies who are the hosts, Dr. Michelle Mazur and Maggie Patterson, and they talk about online businesses and the tactics that online businesses use to try to get people excited, etc. And it's got some background here on the two different authors here. And one of them has got a communication PhD. The other one has a lot of experience in online business. And there was one particular episode where they had a guest on, Dr. Mara Einstein, who has written a book called Hoodwinked: The Cult of Marketing. And the episode in particular was all about how marketing plans, marketing funnels, etc., closely match the sort of communication and recruiting tactics that are used in cults, and the overlap between the two, basically, which is highly correlated. And of course, when we think of a cult, we often think of some kind of religious takeoff where people are, believing in certain things with respect to afterlife, supernatural forces, et cetera, et cetera. And when we traditionally think of a cult, we think about people being separated from their families, et cetera, and it going off someplace. But she shows in this book and in this conversation, which was fantastic. I highly recommend people tune into this episode. I really liked it. But it talked about how people are getting caught up in the same sort of elements that lead people into cults. They're being caught up in these kinds of elements with online shopping and online communities. And basically, the fact of the matter is as people are increasingly isolated in today's modern society, they have fewer and fewer real close personal relationships. People are finding this through online content to a certain degree and creating different kinds of relationships, which could be very one-sided. And they talk a lot in this article about, or in this episode, about parasocial relationships, where people consume a lot of content from a particular creator and then feel like that person is somehow their friend and that they have this relationship with the other person. So I thought it was very interesting. And so then, of course, as one might, I went into ChatGPT and I asked the AI what I thought was a pretty good question. I'm going to try to make the text here a little bit bigger. There we go. I said, "What would someone do if they wanted to build a commercial cult around the concept of buying a business with no money?" Okay. And so I want to walk this through you, in particular, if you are a person who has been drawn in by this idea of even though you may be broke, that you somehow are going to be able to do a business deal and buy a successful, profitable business, and you have no money. So it says here, number one, create a compelling origin story. Interesting. So it says people follow people, especially those who appear to have overcome obstacles. A persuasive narrative might include something like, I was broke, working a dead end job, and discovered how to buy a business with no money. Okay. Or a dramatic turning point. The day I bought my first laundromat using credit cards changed my life. Hmm. Interesting. Reinforcement of relatability. You don't need money, connections, or an MBA, sort of reinforcing your uh, doubts or calming your doubts. This makes the founder a mythical figure in the community and builds emotional trust. So, I've said many times on this channel, people often will do a transaction to satisfy some sort of emotional need. And for a lot of people, the purchase of a small business, for example, is completely financial, like they need an income, for example. But on the other end of the spectrum, we often get people who buy a business because they feel like it's their path to leveling up, that they've achieved the most that they can from a personal growth perspective in their employment. And the next stage for them is to own their own business so they can get to the next level. This emotional stuff is keyed in with someone who is specifically trying to work themselves around your defenses as a human being. And our biggest defense, of course, is our consciousness, our thought, our logic, and skepticism, right? And so this basically is going to explain to us in these steps how you get around someone's skepticism and get them bought in emotionally so that they will believe that they can do something, or they will believe that being a customer of a certain product or whatever is going to satisfy them or help them with whatever they perceive their problem to be. Number two, design a simplified, irresistible system. So the cult needs a branded framework that is simple, like 3 to 5 steps, that has a name. For example, the asset flip formula or the zero to CEO blueprint. It has to be delivered in formats like webinars, checklists, books, and YouTube videos. Okay. So it should downplay complexity and legal risk while amplifying speed and success, right? Objections such as, but why would anyone sell for nothing down, like on the seller side, are deflected with scripts, examples, and testimonials. Okay. So it's easy. You can do it. Don't worry about these objections that are coming up in your mind. It's okay because other people have managed to overcome this. You can too, right? Number three, establish a content empire to create the illusion of ubiquity and credibility. So you want to launch a podcast interviewing successful students, for example. You want to run a YouTube channel filled with case studies, breakdowns, and rants. You want to flood TikTok and Instagram with motivational videos showing people closing deals from their phones, right? Look, it's easy. I do it on my phone. Use sensational thumbnails like he bought a $2 million business with $0. Here's how. Okay. Um, like I have done breakdown videos from some of these gurus before, and these headlines are specifically geared for clickbaity stuff. And in some of the breakdown videos I've done, I've shown how the videos themselves don't even address what is claimed in the thumbnail. But once the thumbnail gets you to click on it, then they've got you in there and they're feeding you their content, I guess. Number four, build a high trust community. So create a members only group with badges for completing training, status levels, etc., leaderboards or deal counts, monthly live calls where the guru answers questions or critiques deals. Encourage insiders to see outsiders as uninformed or stuck in the rat race. Use phrases like, you've taken the red pill, now you see how the system really works. So this one really hit home to me because I've had many people who have paid 10, 12, 15, $20,000 to attend these programs that are like 2 days, 5 days, etc. There's one where people go off to the Scottish castle for a week. They pay 20 grand. And I've spoken to the graduates of this program. And when I start to explain to them how they can't get a bank loan because the bank will see that they have an insufficient debt to equity ratio, they basically wave me off and they're like, "Oh, that you've just been trained to have that mindset. You don't really know how these deals are done, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm like, dude, I work on these deals all the time. I help people who get these deals done, and I'm telling you what the obstacles are that you're going to face. And you almost get programmed with these kinds of ideas like, now you're on the inside track, or you know how it really works, or now you have this advantage that other people don't have, et cetera, et cetera. Number five, monetize the belief system. So once followers are emotionally invested, sell escalating offers. So it says a $47 ebook, then a $497 course, then $5,000 coaching program, then $25,000 mastermind. Licensing. So here's the part that makes me chuckle, right? Because I'm selling $10 books. I'm selling courses that cost hundreds of dollars. I've got coaching programs too, and I do one-on-one coaching, and we also do deal analysis and consulting work for clients too. And so this gets back to the lady who wrote the book, Dr. Mara Einstein. She's basically saying marketing methodology, marketing funnels, and these cult things are directly related. They perfectly overlap each other. It's exactly the same kind of methodology. So, um, to continue here with number five, monetizing the belief system, then it's saying that you want to license deal consultants or roles or franchises. You want to create things like SaaS tools for deal sourcing, financing, or CRM branded, made by deal makers for deal makers, et cetera, et cetera. So this is how sort of the cult leader is able to monetize the adherence and create the bankroll or the cash, right? So, like what always blows me away with this kind of stuff is when you have these people that are creating this online presence, they're sucking people into it, and then they're showing these incredible, like sort of lifestyle elements, like flying around in private jets and stuff like that. And meanwhile, they're telling you that you need to buy a $25,000 mastermind program in order to be successful like them. And I'm thinking to myself, that's how you're paying for the jet. Like, don't the students understand that the outrageous lifestyle is funded by the outrageously priced things of dubious value, right? Like, come on, guys. But again, once the emotional connection's been made, people want to believe that it's real. They want to believe that they're going to be able to get the desired outcome or result by simply doing as they are now being told. This is where the whole cultish thing comes into this commercial relationship. Use things like scarcity and urgency to fuel demand. For example, only 50 seats left in the next class. Number six, manufacture social proof. Show screenshots of wire transfers and closing documents, even if they've been anonymized. Collect video testimonials. So people have sent me videos before where they've said, look at this video, look at this deal discussed in this video. Why isn't this realistic? Why can't this be done? And my response to these people is often, how do you know this is even a real thing? Like, you know, I will happily analyze somebody else's deal, whatever their claims happen to be, if they provide all the source documentation on the deal. Like, I would want the financial statements of the business they claim to have purchased. I would want to know who the seller of the business was. I would want to interview that person. I would want to see what their deal documents were. I would want to see what the LOI was. I'd want to see et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get to see all of that stuff when I'm working on consulting files. And I can tell you, in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of files that go through our business, um, that a lot of the deals have the exact same characteristics. Yeah, right? Like, the deals that are consistently being done all the time have very similar characteristics. They have qualified buyers with business experience, they have some degree of money to put down, and they're able to make bankers happy, who then will advance funds on loans to be able to do deals under terms and conditions that the sellers agree to because it makes sense to the seller, et cetera, right? Like, there's patterns that appear. And when people send me stuff that they found online about these, like, sort of statistically improbable things that are way far away from the stuff that I normally see, I'm like, well, okay, show me the real proof. And of course, this stuff is never available, right? Because you don't even know if it's even real. A lot of this stuff can be created, it can be falsified. People can fake screenshots, et cetera, et cetera. And now with AI, and all the video and photo stuff that AI can do, this stuff is just going to get even crazier, right? I promise this stuff is going to get even crazier. Um, Collect video testimonials that say things like, "I thought it was a scam. Now I own a plumbing company." Right? Have you heard things like that before? Highlight dramatic wins, even if the norm is failure, even if the norm is failure. So I can tell you that, even if you manage to buy a business with no money down, okay, like you say, you get someone to agree to 100% seller financing, it will likely be for an asset transaction, and they will likely not be transferring operating capital to you. So if you are a broke person and you manage to buy a business with no money down, 100% seller financing, and you do not have access to funds for the operating capital you're going to need, then you would likely fail because you would not be able to pay your bills before you collect the money that's owed to you, right? That's an example of what this is saying, right? Highlight dramatic wins even if the norm would be failure under the scenario that you are describing, really doing these deals. A few success stories are magnified to imply universal success. And this is one of the key things that I've seen over and over again with these different online creators that I've followed for little brief periods of time, is they will have a small number of specific cases that they keep repeating or talking about. And they try to create the impression that because someone managed to do something one time, that this is a normal course of action that you should be able to execute if you just, sign up and learn their stuff, right? Step number 7, weaponize dissent. Okay. When critics emerge, for example, attorneys, CPAs, or actual M&A professionals, right? Label them as naysayers who don't understand disruption, just like, crypto bros who will look at who will respond to criticism by saying, "You don't understand the network effect, man," or "You don't understand, the blockchain, or how blockchain is going to change the world." Like, same kind of thing, right? They're they're part of the old school jealous professionals protecting their gatekeeping turf, right? Those guys are just trying to put you off the track because they want to protect their business. This fuels in-group loyalty. They hate us because they ain't us kind of idea, right? And you see this a lot with people who sign up for these programs that promise to be able to teach these kinds of things and deliver these kinds of results, where you're put into groups of peers, where you're basically a bunch of newbies who've been taught stuff from whoever the leader is, and you sit there talking amongst yourselves. I've actually, there's a really big name in the buy a business education space where people sign up and they join this mastermind kind of thing, and it's all peers. And I've now had 3 conversations with people who've become investors in other people's deals because they signed up for this program. So what is happening is that people are in these groups, they don't quite know what they're doing. Some of them are going out and finding deals, often overpriced deals that don't make any sense, and they don't have enough money for the down payment, and they're recruiting their peers within the group to supply the down payment money, and it's basically a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, getting further and further into deals they don't understand, and ultimately putting their capital into a deal that doesn't make sense, that will never make money, and they don't know. Like they won't know until like a year into it, right? When everything starts to fall apart. Um, Number 8, create evangelists. So train followers to do these things. Post on social media about their deal progress, right? Anyone who's been on Twitter was good, like will see this is stuff is nonstop now all the time. Host meetup or pop-up workshops and recruit others. Big point here, with referral commissions or affiliate links. So some of those big 10 and $12,000 buy a business programs out there, especially the no money down ones, are offering huge commissions on affiliate programs. In fact, there's a guru that's going to be mentioned here in a little while where when people sign up for their $10,000 course and then they're unhappy with the results and they complain, instead of being offered a refund, which of course is never going to be allowed, what the complainer is offered instead is an affiliate link and says, "Hey, why don't you go sign up some other people into our program and we'll pay you a fat commission. And this way you can earn back your money." Right. And what they're doing is they're actually taking dissatisfied customers and turning them into a marketing mechanism to bring more people into the fold. Okay. So, final thoughts. A commercial cult built on buying a business with no money isn't about realistic business education. It's about hope, identity, and transformation. So these are like 3 key things that are always at the root of scamminess, right? What do people want? People want love, success, prosperity, status, right? And so a lot of the times when you get kind of scammy kind of content online, it's all about these kinds of things. The buy a business with no money is about transforming yourself into something that is going to be better, that you are going to achieve greater status, you're going to have more financial influence, you're going to gain more respect from other people. So it's not as much about buying a business to get money, it's about transforming yourself and the hope for a more prosperous, better future, right? Because if you wanted money, the most immediate path to getting money would be getting a better job. And the way to get better and better income through employment would be through training education, right? And so this is why, when I meet some of these people, here are some of the questions I'm starting to ask them. When I meet some of these people who are in these programs, I'll say, how many CPAs are in the group with you? Right? Like, how many MBA grads are in the group with you? Right? Like, how many people with 15 or 20 years experience in management are in the group with you? Because the answer is always like, uh, right, right? Um, so it exploits the modern hunger for shortcuts to wealth. Nobody wants to do any work anymore. Wraps it in a personal success narrative, which makes it appealing and makes you want to attach yourself to it, and monetizes belief before reality sets in. And this is a key here, okay? And so the very first time I ran into a buy a business with no money guru refugee, which is how I describe these people, refugees. It was a person in Australia who had paid like 5 grand to attend one of these courses on how to buy a business with no money. And I met them a year and a half after they took the program. And this person had found 3 different deals on businesses that they were trying to work on. And they thought that they were following the program they'd been taught. And all the banks were saying no, no, no to the loans. Right. And so I met this person and they were asking me for my help because they found me on YouTube. And they were like, "I don't understand why the bank keeps saying no." And then I brought up the debt to equity on the opening balance sheet problem because they have no skin in the game. They have no money to put in. So the debt to equity ratio would literally be uh, the debt of infinity to equity of zero. So it would be infinite to zero debt to equity ratio, which no banker is ever going to like. Like without some kind of government guarantee program, banks typically don't like more than a 3-to-1 debt to equity ratio, just as a point of reference, which means you'd have to have like a quarter of the money to put in. You'd have to be properly capitalized on your balance sheet. mind-blowing concept, but a a foreign concept to someone who doesn't know anything about business, right? So the thing is that this course that the person took actually had a guarantee attached to it. And the guarantee was that if you didn't achieve success by following their footprint or whatever, their roadmap that they gave you within like 90 days, then you can get some kind of refund. But the vast majority of people who even would legitimately try to follow the blueprint that they were presented with, it would take them like a year to get through those steps to actually get to the point where they started to realize, hey, what I'm doing here just doesn't work. And I've had people on my channel before who have been victimized by some of these people, and they've shared the stories here on the channel about what happened when they tried to go back and claim on those guarantees. How they all of a sudden were asked to meet all the details of the fine print, which in some cases included like proving that they had reached out to like 1,000 business owners that they had approached to buy their business, and just absolutely crazy claims like that. The last input here, the last part of this prompt is, would you like a fictional case study showing how someone built one of these, or analysis of a real example like, and I'm quoting ChatGPT here, Ty Lopez, Dan Locke, or Cody Sanchez? So, like the AIs know. The AIs know who's in here. Um, I asked another question then. I said, "What other online bio business personalities fall into this category?" And it started to unravel them all and started to actually specifically detail how all these different characters specifically put these elements into their content and into their program. Um, I'll skip down here to the part that says what they have in common. You can put your own things into ChatGPT. You can find out what you want. It says what they have in common: appeal to dreamers, number one, especially young professionals looking for alternatives to 95 jobs. Promise of control, ownership over employment. Number three, downplay of risk. Few talk about failing deals, liabilities, lawsuits, or burnout, right? This is why it's like shock therapy when people find my channel. Uplines and upsells. Most follow a funnel model that escalates from free to high ticket. Well, so do I, right? And so do a lot of businesses out there. Would you like a comparison table showing how they differ on audience targeting, pricing models, and risk transparency? Or are you thinking of developing content to counter or compete with this style? Um, yeah, well, I mean, this is where I ended. I saw enough that I thought I wanted to make a video. We'll see how many lawyers letters I get. Anyway, if you know somebody who is like excited about an exciting online guru who's trying to teach them how to do some crazy awesome thing with little to no money, experience, or effort, uh, share the video. Like, um, because the way that online social media algorithms are set up, the people that are creating the content that draw people into this kind of stuff, they're the ones that get promoted. They're the ones that get promoted. There was a name mentioned earlier in this one, Ty Lopez. So I remember watching a video, and I didn't go looking for it, but I remember watching a video with Ty Lopez where he talked about his Google account rep, because the guy was buying so much paid advertising on Google that he had an actual account rep that would call him, right? So the platforms, the social media purveyors or whatever, their currency is attention and ad sales. And the people that are creating some of these kinds of programs are raking in huge amounts of money from people. And they're the ones that are reinvesting back in these programs. And in a way, the algos are feeding more and more people into these programs. And so you know, if you want to be helpful to someone if you want to be helpful to a stranger, you need to participate in liking, sharing, and commenting on content that you think is good, that is going to be helpful to people. So if you've enjoyed this video and you think it's useful and helpful, like it, comment, share it, take, hit the share button, take the URL, put it on another platform. But I, it just burns me when this stuff happens. When somebody is like, working down the path to thinking that they're going to pull something like this off, and they're just either not going to be able to do it, or they've gotten into huge credit card debt to pay for this kind of training from some of these gurus, or they are on their way to actually pulling something off that, like the example I gave earlier, if they actually do pull it off, will certainly fail in a very short order, and they don't know enough to know that they're going to fail. Anyway, with that, I'll say thank you very much. We'll see you next time, and please help get the word out about some of this stuff. Cheers. So, how can you learn more about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses? Easy. Go over to my blog site, davidcbarnett.com, where you can learn more about me and how I work with my clients. You can learn more about my books and courses that I prepared for you. You can find out how to subscribe to my email list, the YouTube playlists, and more. There's literally hundreds of hours of content there, all for free, and I'd love for you to be my guest. Special thanks go to Mark Willis at Lake Growth Financial, today's video sponsor. Mark helps people better manage their personal and business finances through the Bank on Yourself insurance strategy. This is something I've done personally, and I've seen others use it successfully for years. Go to newbankingsolution.com to find all the interviews I've done with Mark and learn more about the advantages of these programs. While there, sign up for a free consultation to learn what this solution might look like for you.